15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake effect, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto, Ron, Elvis, in the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here now, your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. We really appreciate you guys joining us live tonight. I know that you don't see the big dump truck. He is on his way. He's a businessman. He's got a bunch of different corporate events and different things like that. So he was at one of those corporate events tonight, and he is on his way. I'm really, really excited about tonight's episode. I am joined by, it's funny because Twitter, I was never a big person on Twitter or X, whatever they call it now. I don't like really necessarily, I'm not really tech savvy all the time, and I don't understand all the ins and outs, but boy, do I love a good debate. And I just really gravitated to these two guys a little while ago. It's been some time now, and we'll go back and forth. We don't always agree, and that I think that's like one of the points of Twitter and X, and so I love a good debate. I'm joined tonight by my buddy Matt. You could check him out at NyperFox, NYPER Fox. Holla at the crew, Matt. What's good, man? Thanks for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your night, man. What's up, man? What's
Hi,
good?
man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome, man. I can't wait to get started. And also, we've got Jake. You could check him out at Big Ball and Bills. Holla at the crew. Jake, what's good, man? Holla at the crew.
Oh, how's it going, Rob, man? It's nice. Thanks for having me on. You know, it's nice to talk to somebody face to face instead of just through the keyboard. And now I can't be as rude to you as I would be on Twitter, so I gotta be nice because I've seen your face and I've heard you laugh. So
Absolutely. No, you definitely can be rude. It's all good. It's all a part of the fun. You know, like I said, I've never been a huge Twitter guy, but for the show purposes, I started to get on there, and then I just kind of realized that sometimes I like to go back and forth. There are some crazy fucking takes on there, but it's all in good fun. So we're all a part of the Mafia. Mafia means family, so it's all good here, man. Like, fellas, it's funny because I know that DT will be joining us soon, but this draft was crazy, and it was an interesting look at it. And tonight's episode is named because of it. And you know that we do release these episodes, my audience knows, on Fridays as well. But boy, man, this is a weird draft. For me personally, the way that I dissected it, I was interested to get your guys' takes on it because it's funny. Pre-draft, when Brandon Beane said that he was, saying that, there's no way that we need a wide receiver one and we can just, spread it around. Me and DT, we call bullshit on the show. We said that there's no way that he really means that. There's no way that he really thinks that. And I mean, I'll be damned. It seems like the Bills think that there's a wide receiver committee by approach is really going to work for these guys. No clear wide receiver one. I didn't make a trade for one. And it's interesting. I'm interested to get your takes on it. Jake, what do you think about the fact that the Bills, it seems like that Brandon Beane was serious, and I never would have pegged him to be serious about that. I thought he was just trying to hold his leverage before the draft.
well, I mean, first things first, I stayed up until 12:30 on the first day of the draft, and just to trade back twice. So I mean, that set me in a bad mood. I mean, they say don't get draft crushes because they're never going to pick your draft crushes, and it's
Right.
crazy. But
Right.
I really fell in love with Xavier Legette. I imagined him in the Bills offense, Josh rolling out, and he's just improvising his way open, and Josh is just falling off the sideline, chucking it to him deep, and he's burning secondaries. And I thought that was going to be something awesome. And then you get Keon Coleman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and it's not just the 40 time. The 40 time, because a lot of positions, 40 time doesn't mean jack.
No,
I mean, that's fine. But wide receiver,
have football speed.
wide receiver, kind of. You got to have football speed.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman's faster than he had a slow day on the track, so he's faster than that. I think he ran a 4.52 at the pro day.
Right.
So
he did really
but I
well on the
still
gauntlet.
have-
On the gauntlet drill, he was really fast on that, and that's football speed, or at least simulating like it. Yeah.
But everything I've read about him since, people I trust, people I respect, people I just run across reading different things on football, he sounds like a support guy.
Okay.
You know, it's like, okay, he wins contested catches.
Mhm.
He can kind of run routes well, but he just doesn't separate. I was just listening to Matt Harmon before I hopped on. He's like, this guy's the worst separator in the draft.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing for wide receiver in the NFL is if you can separate.
Right.
At least if you're going to be a wide receiver one, which we're thinking they're going to do with the 33rd pick.
Right.
So, you know, for me, I'm not saying he's going to suck. I'm just stressing about this because, like, you know, you got Leggett, he falls right in your lap. You got Worthy, he falls right in your lap, and they trade back twice to get the worst separator of the top 15 guys. It's like, oh my God, if this doesn't work out, I don't know.
Oh man, that's funny, Matt. I'm interested to get your take because I mean, Bean said it, and he said it pre-draft, and I really did. I pegged it as he was trying to hold his leverage. You don't want the guys to have more information on you. If they know that you need something, they're going to charge you more. DT and I talked about that. So I thought that the whole conjecture before the draft about not needing a wide receiver one was again truly just draft fodder and bullshit. And he was just holding his cards to his chest. Matt, it seems like he meant that shit because I mean, you know, whatever you want to think about Coleman, and we'll get to him in a minute, but Brandon Beane really does. He is operated like somebody that believes that sentiment, to be honest.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was punching air, I was punching pillows, I was punching everything on draft night when Xavier Worthy, big draft crush of mine. I know you're not supposed to have him. The speed, the route running, he got me.
Yeah.
And when I see, I'm like, oh, we're running low on time, and it was like traded to the Chiefs. I was not happy.
We're gonna get to that. Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I wanted Worthy
Okay.
because I just felt like that was it. But I think like Joe Brady, he came in and
Mhm.
like he was using everyone. He wasn't using Diggs. I I had him on plenty of fantasy teams. He didn't do anything after Joe Brady came in,
No, he didn't. He
and
didn't.
I think that's also part of why they moved off him this offseason. I guess the plan always was wide receiver by committee. We
Okay.
just didn't want to believe it.
Wow. It's interesting because I was shocked, really, to be honest, fellas. I was shocked by the fact that they did not double dip, to be honest, because even if you take Coleman at 33 and pick up that extra third round pick, I expected them still to double dip and to hit, another draft position. I was really upset about the Ray Davis pick because I thought that right there, why are you grabbing a 25-year-old running back when you need another wide receiver? So I was just really surprised that Brandon Beane didn't take the time to double dip. And I'm wondering what you guys think about that, because coming into the draft, it was either trade up for one of the top three guys, which was going to cost a lot of money, draft capital that I was not necessarily willing to spend. I didn't want to mortgage the future. But if you're not going to do that, that's fine. But you definitely got to double dip. So just see that they did neither and only came away with one. It's got me in a place where I'm a little bit nervous because of the fact that I'm just not sure that the wide receiver by committee approach is going to work. What do you think about that, Jake? Because, it's cool right now to Beane, trades back and he's using the draft, but we really didn't get any more picks. Sal Capaccio talked about it on WGR. We didn't pick up more picks. We just maneuvered around the draft and got that extra third that we needed, that we didn't get. So it's interesting. Are you shocked that they didn't double dip? Because that was something that I was definitely not prepared for once they didn't trade up.
No, I mean, because I guess I like who they picked in the middle rounds. You might have been able to add a fifth or sixth receiver near the back end of the sixth, seventh, but I mean, I like as far as the roles they have in the wide receiver room right now, and I think if you double dip, you're not necessarily finding a guy that's going to find himself a role.
Okay.
Maybe push Mac Hollins. You
Okay.
have a guy that can provide something on special teams, and he can, get open for you if he comes in reserve or he comes in as a fourth or fifth wide receiver. I wasn't too concerned with that. It was a nice narrative going through, and there was a bunch of guys deep that might have been fun. Like McCaffrey. Luke McCaffrey would have been fun. They had a couple other really slot specialist type dudes in like the fourth, fifth that could have been fun, but they go in, they pick up Dwayne Carter in the third, and he's going to be a beast for Buffalo for multiple contracts. I really love that pick. What's his face? That linebacker. That linebacker's a size speed beast. So I like him too. That Hardy guy. So I mean, I think I'd rather have these guys, these high upside athletes, than to just have a seventh wide receiver to throw in there. So I'm cool with it.
Oh man, you gotta save me, Matt. Listen, were you expecting the Bills to double dip? Because it's funny, and Jake brings up a good point, but I mean, I am not impressed by some of these bottom of KJ Hamler flyer and Tyrell Shavers flyer and Justin Shorter back in the day was a top prospect coming out of high school. That was a long time ago. Like, are you okay with this approach? Because I was shocked, to be honest. I will talk about the draft picks and get into it, but I mean, I just thought that the double dip was definitely warranted for sure. And I'm just a little bit nervous. That's all. So what do you think, Matt?
I agree with you here. I think we have too many redundant skill sets.
Mhm.
You have Kincaid and Coleman, who essentially are gonna look like they do like the same thing, like a big slot. You have like Shakir, KJ Hamler. They're smaller. They can play outside. I don't know if I would love them playing outside full time.
Right.
And then you have your Justin Shorter, your Matt Collins. Like they can get you stuff, but they're not better than what Gabe Davis did for us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I really wanted like a nice like a Z type wide receiver, like a Troy Franklin when he
Mhm.
started sliding. I
Mhm.
was expecting him to double dip on him or maybe
Me
like
too.
Brendan Rice out of USC.
Me too. He went
Played
in
with
like the
Caleb
seventh
Williams.
round. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You're right. Mhm.
he's got the Jerry Rice blood, and he played with Caleb Williams. Very similar play style to Allen with all the scrambling, and I thought he would have been a good fit for us, and they
Yeah.
just didn't do it. And I like most of our mid round picks,
Okay.
but like over Daquan Hardy or something, I could have seen like another wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although
It's
you gotta give McDermott his cornerback flyer in the 6th round every year.
I love it. Yeah, it's interesting, like that guy Wild Goose or something like that made another team. But yeah, it's interesting. Shout out to the comment section. We appreciate you, K Gun, out there, Scott. I was on their show the other day. I was telling the fellas before pre-show, and they were just blowing my mind with some of their takes about the wide receivers. So but Scott was with me at least on that one, that he definitely thought that they were going to be double dipping. Shout out to Noah Rago as well out there, one of the OGs of Nickel City Crew. We appreciate you. Tell DT to hurry his ass up. It's time to get to work out here, man. Now listen, it's funny, fellas, as we transition a little bit, because before we get to all the draft picks and Coleman specifically, because he's obviously the star of the draft, I'm interested in your take on the controversial KC trade, the double trade back. Listen, I initially, my honest opinion was I did not care necessarily who the receiver was. It didn't matter if it was Worthy. It didn't matter if it was Legette, even if it was Coleman or whoever the case may be. I didn't care who KC liked. I just know that now there is a mandate. And I put it out on Twitter right afterwards, and you guys were part of that conversation as well. Listen, Xavier Worthy could never stop us from what we need to get done now. And that's the only shitty part about this trade. I wouldn't have done it. I understand that it takes, balls for Brandon Beane to say, I don't give a shit what you guys are doing. I'm going to do what's best for the Buffalo Bills. And he definitely desperately wanted that 3rd-round pick that they were supposed to get as a comp pick. Boy, if Worthy ever stops us from doing shit, I don't care if it's regular season. I don't care if it's postseason. I'm going to be pissed. I mean, it's not like I'm going to be obsessed over him and watching his whole career and checking his stat lines every night. But boy, Jake, if anything ever happens where it's a pivotal game and Xavier Worthy is a part of the outcome where we don't win, I'm gonna be pissed about it, man. And I'm gonna be watching them just for that particular reason when we're playing against them.
Oh, 100%. And Bean boxed himself into the corner with this one. He said, Keon Coleman is my guy. I'm going to go get him, and I can get him at 33. That's awesome if it works. If it doesn't work, you just passed on 2 elite talents, some of the most athletic wide receivers, one of the most athletic receivers to come out in recent draft years, and you passed on them for Keon Coleman. Not only did you do that, you gave Xavier Worthy, the fastest guy to ever run a 40-yard dash, to the Kansas City Chiefs, who love to throw it deep to guys that are super fast.
Yeah, Tyreek
so
Hill, yeah.
That's gonna. I mean, if we're coming in and we're saying that Keon Coleman isn't coming up to the level of Xavier Worthy, and then we gave him the Kansas City Chiefs, we're just saying, okay, we're gonna do the Patrick Mahomes situation all over again. We're gonna have to deal with this. So it's like, oh, you traded the Chiefs Mahomes. Now you traded them Worthy, so you traded Mahomes. You traded them Mahomes to the Chiefs, the best quarterback in the league, and then you gave him one of the best targets in the league. That's, I mean, that's
if
GM
we don't know.
If.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like Bean's letting it hang out with this one, man. Because if it doesn't work out, he's done. He's done.
You said he's done.
So
It's fireable. It's a fireable offense. Listen, I mean, if it's in a big game, it's gonna sting. Obviously, nothing stings more than 13 seconds, and we don't have to get into that tonight. But like it's funny because the stench of 13 seconds, Matt, it starts to linger, Jake, and it's like a situation where, I mean, every year that we don't get it done, that stench gets worse. And I was talking to, with one of my buddies over the weekend about it. Like, the 13 seconds is starting to stink even more now because of the fact that we can't get over the hump. And most recently, we've been hitting our head on that ceiling of the divisional round against Kansas City or whoever the case may be, Cincinnati the year before. So listen, man, I'm interested because I just don't want to help them. I don't want to help them in any way. And again, I'm not going to be obsessed over Worthy, his career or anything like that. But matchups against Buffalo, Matt, I'm going to be looking at this trade and wondering why the hell. Listen, because what Brandon Beane is saying right now is that, well, if we didn't help him and trade with him, then they would have just traded with somebody else. But he doesn't know that. He doesn't know if anybody else is going to give him the package that they want to be able to move up. And I'm just wondering if this was a bad decision, man. And I know that it's ballsy, but what are your takes on it? Because it blew my mind. And Worthy can never hurt us. That's it, man. You put that in stone. Worthy could never hurt us.
Ever since that trade happened that night, I've had this one reoccurring nightmare. 4th and 6, the Chiefs are on their 6-yard line, got to go the whole field.
Yeah.
It's like 20 seconds left. Buffalo's up by 1. Little dump off the Worthy, house call against like Cam Lewis or something, and it's just it'll just be killer.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, it's the part that kills me about that is I did the math afterwards. I posted it on Twitter somewhere. Those 2 trade backs, we only gained like a 6th round pick in value
for that.
Moving back so far,
Mm-hmm.
and losing out on the 5th-year option. I know the 5th-year options are a little more expensive than they used to be with the market right now.
Sure.
But losing out on that, and then taking Coleman when I felt like Worthy and Leggett were like a tier above him.
Okay.
It definitely stings. And I don't think Worthy was falling to him because I felt like everyone who picked after us had a need for wide receiver to some extent, and they were all candidates for Worthy. I mean, Ricky Purcell went at pick 31 to San Fran.
Right.
And you can't tell me that they wouldn't have wanted Worthy more than him. I just don't buy it.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because now what does that say? Like, what does that say about what they think about Coleman? And we're getting ready to dive into him right now. But like, what is that? It's because I'm wondering if you were willing to trade back, that you obviously were willing to play that game and then the risk and stuff like that. So I'm almost calling bluff on the fact that Coleman was their guy, if that makes any sense, Jake, because like I'm wondering, like, listen, if I'm willing to go back twice and I see that there's receivers, but obviously we know that, he said obviously that, Kansas City did not tell him who he was going to pick, but he had an idea that they were coming up for a receiver. So you don't want Worthy, you don't want Leggett, you don't want, or there's just in a bucket and you're just okay with any of them. So I'm not exactly sure the actual thought process, and I'm wondering what you thought about it, because I'm just wondering, were they even that high on Coleman, or were these guys just all in a bucket and it was like, well, fuck it, let's get this 3rd round pick back because we'll take whoever the other guys don't take.
No, I think 100% the Bills are just locked in at Coleman. He was one of their first draft visits, if I remember right. Yeah, if I remember right. I mean, Matt can correct me, but I think he was one of their first draft visits as far as wide receivers go.
Right, but you think that they were locked in on him and then they were willing to trade back and risk somebody taking him?
Yeah, I mean, because Xavier Worthy just fits the Kansas City mold. That's who they've been missing since they traded Tyreek Hill, and that's who they wanted to get back. I think that was telegraphed. I mean, as far as maybe
Pearsall, Carolina, right? Too right. That's Carolina took Leggett, right? I think.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that fits their role too. They like those big body guys that can stretch, and that's going to really help Bryce over there, the young quarterback. But I mean, they focused in. They said, this is our guy. We like him better than any of these outside of the top 3, Odunze, Harrison. This is our guy, and we're going to say, okay, we can get him here. And I think trading down just signaled that to everybody. And I mean, if they're right, if they're scouting,
I thought that it signaled that I just thought that it would. I mean, why not take him at 28 then? Because they want that 3rd round pick. Then Beane was just hell bent on getting that 3rd round pick. Okay, that makes sense.
I think Yeah, because I mean everybody was generally higher on Worthy and generally higher on Leggett. Pearsall was a little bit of a surprise.
It was.
I didn't see that. I didn't see Pearsall coming. I thought he was a mid-second round guy, but
Right.
I think they wanted to move up. They wanted to get as many starting caliber players as they possibly could. And Dwayne Carter was a great pick in that third, and they wouldn't have gotten him probably in the fourth. So that worked out great. The only thing that's questionable, the only thing I'm stressing about is this is a lot of risk on the one position you really had to get, and you're saying that we don't need our number one guy. That's it's not wrong necessarily, but it just has to work.
Yeah, it's got to work. It does have to work. As we transition, before we get to the rest of the draft picks and a rundown, it's we got to talk about Coleman and get into him a little bit deeper, fellas. And DT should be on the way. When Coleman was taken, I did not really necessarily think that he was the focus of the Bills. I didn't, but I really obviously don't know who they're going to take. But I hadn't really heard too much buzz about him. But I guess you're right about that, Matt, that they brought him in, but they brought in a lot of guys for visits, and I think they get 30 of them. I love his highlight tapes, obviously, and it's a situation where when those guys are picked and they're Bills, that becomes like our guys. So I was busy on Twitter after the pick, defending it, because now he's a Bill, so now he's mine. And I don't give a fuck about a 40 time. I really don't. I know that, it's not the fastest or anything like that, but I'm wondering, can you win on routes? And how is your release off the line of scrimmage, and how do you play against press coverage, and can you catch the football, which is your number one job description? I think I'm interested to get your guys' take, because I think he could snag the ball. We all talk about those contested catches. That's one of the things that they talk about, that his main ability is the fact that he can go and get the ball in some bad areas, and that just can't be a trait that you can overlook. Contested catches are important. Now, obviously, you want Josh Allen to throw to wide open receivers all the time, but that's just not how the NFL works. The windows get smaller than college and different things like that. So I'm interested, Matt, what did you think about it? Initially, is this somebody that you can see working out? Because I get all these different opinions on him, and where is he going to line up and different things like that. And I don't know, I just felt like a father and being all protective. Once he was picked, I'm like, this is my fucking wide receiver. You better, stop talking shit about him. And that's kind of just been my approach ever since the draft.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been defending him too. I am worried about his route running. I know he was dual sport athlete, played basketball and football for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have the reception perception numbers up here, and they aren't pretty. One route, the one route that he was good on, the flat route, the 9 route, 37.8% success rate. Post, 70.8% success rate. Corner, only 50%. Out route, 70%.
Okay.
It's not looking good. And I know he's raw, and it will improve. He's talking to Andre Reed. That will help.
Right.
But as of right now, he can make a guy miss. That is one thing. He may not. He's big. He's not super fast.
Mm-hmm.
But he can make a guy miss. I believe he had a 17% missed tackle rate, which is solidly in the middle. I have some analytics on missed tackle rate and success, hit rate on wide receivers that we can get into later.
Okay.
But it's solidly in the middle and above a couple guys like Worthy, who you would expect to be better at that.
Okay. Well, it's interesting, Jake, I'm wondering, because I hear he's not really an X. And then I just heard the other day, earlier in the week, he's more like a big slot. And I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we had 20 fucking slot receivers. And I'm like, what is going on? So, it was funny. Somebody said redundant earlier in the show. And I'm trying to get away from that. I understand that, you want variety and different things like that. But I thought that, 6'4", big body, former basketball player at Michigan State. I thought that this is a true X receiver. Are we supposed to get prepared when training camp comes that this guy's not even going to be on the boundary? Because I don't even know, then I don't even know what we're doing.
No, Matt just pointed out. I was watching I was looking at the same thing with reception perception, and that's the big concern. Because if you're sitting here, we're saying we're going to have our outside guy, but he can't separate at a different level. That's not an outside guy. That's a big slot.
Yeah.
But we don't need a big slot. I mean, if we're going to use, I don't know. I mean, where do you guys see Khalil Shakir being?
He's a
slot. I think that's my big question mark.
He's a slot. He's perfect. He's Cole Beasley, but better.
He was winning at every level of the field last season. I mean, it's 45 targets. It's 45 targets, and he had people were paying a lot of attention to Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs last season, but he
Mhm.
caught 86% of everything that was thrown his way, and he was doing it at several different levels. So are we signaling that Khalil Shakir is our guy, and we just need the compliment? We have Owen Wilson.
Ooh.
Matthew McConaughey is already here. We got Owen Wilson to come play support.
Bills
And
Blitzkrieg
that's our
coming
guy
with
who's going to go
the
win in the
fire
AFC.
takes.
Otherwise,
I
I don't see how, because he's not. If they're saying this is our number one guy, he doesn't have number one wide receiver traits. He has really good number two traits, as far as I'm concerned.
Matt, what do you think, man? Talk me off a ledge, man. What are we doing? What are we doing then?
I think they have to be thinking Dalton Kincaid playing Travis Kelce. I don't think Shakir can
What?
win when he's receiving the attention from the top attention. Like, same thing happened with Gabe Davis. He was fantastic wide receiver 3,
Uh-huh.
good wide receiver 2 at the end of that season with Brian DeBall. Ken Dorsey came in, couldn't use him right. That's kind of a separate point. But he also he did have struggles at times, and I think the same thing is going to happen if you take Shakir from wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 1.
Okay.
So I feel like you traded up for Kincaid last year. He has to be the main target. That's you traded, you put the most assets into him out of everyone else we have in this room of receivers, tight ends.
I've never heard this.
Dawson Knox contract, very bad.
Mhm.
He was good. He's a good red zone threat, but we have those.
Right.
I think it's Dalton Kincaid or nothing, and if he doesn't pan out, it's going to get ugly quick.
Oh wow, that's flame. I wish it was like around the horn and I could put the flames behind your shit. That's a flaming hot take. That is interesting. I mean, I know that they love to tell you about Dalton Kincaid. I know that he progressed a little bit slower last year, but then he started to catch fire towards the end of the year, fellas. But those are lofty expectations. If you're expecting a Travis Kelce, that's a high bar to meet. So that'll be interesting. Shout out to Scott at Kago Report. He's talking about Josh. He's got Josh Allen throwing to him, not Jordan Travis, and that means something too when he's talking about Coleman. And I agree. But it's just wow. That one threw me for a loop right there. Niper Fox, check him out on Instagram. At Twitter. And then also check out my boy. Jake at Big Ballin' Bills on Twitter as well. These guys are great conversational Bills Mafia fans. You can get into some fights with them. They'll fight back with you. They don't just lay down. I love it, and that's why we became Twitter buddies. And now we're family. We've got him here on the show tonight. Now, as we transition, because it's funny because when I look at the offense and it's funny how the transition happened where 12 men on the field. And then all of a sudden, Ken Dorsey loses his fucking job. And it's like, if there weren't 12 men on the field, would Ken Dorsey have just been the OC for the rest of the year? And a lot of people think that he would. And I probably do tend to lean that way. This guy, Joe Brady, I'm giving him grace because of the fact that he was not running his system. So I understand that, you can't put in a new playbook mid-season. That's unrealistic. So he's running a version of Ken Dorsey's offense last year. I'm wondering if this guy is going to run the ball more. We will get to the rest of the draft picks, but I mean, I'm starting to see a philosophy shift, or at least it seems like that. Okay, we don't need Stephon Diggs anymore. We don't need a wide receiver one clear cut. We're going to spread the ball around, and then we're going to get backs, and we're going to pound the ball. Now, I think that they ran the ball out of necessity last year because Josh was a little bit up and down earlier in the year, and then they had to switch the game plan. He had to do something different than what Dorsey was doing. But I think that they got a little bit carried away with it. There were some games later in the season, fellas, you remember that were close that didn't have to be that close. I am a proponent of Dable. I'm a proponent of the Bills that went to the AFC Championship game. I'm a proponent of the Bills that, went to the divisional round in 13 seconds the year after. Throw the ball. Throw the ball. And I want that type of approach from my offense. And because of the fact that it seems like they want to run it more, that scares the fuck out of me. Matt, speak to it, please. I'll let Jake speak to it because I've literally got to be talked off a ledge on this one because I just see too many tendencies where I don't know. I don't know Brady. I don't know what your offense is in the NFL, really. And then I don't know if you're trying to run the ball all the time. I speak to it, fellas. Please speak to it because I'm a little bit nervous, man, that they're switching.
I don't necessarily think that running the ball more is a bad thing. I felt like under the ball and early Dorsey, I mean, neither of them could scheme an effective run game, nor did we have
Okay.
the personnel for it, especially
Okay.
under the ball. That offensive line was not good enough, and Singletary and Moss struggled because of it. And I with Allen's arm injuries, the UCL, the shoulder, I don't hate taking a little bit off him. I
Oh,
do think that Brady needs to diversify his run game. I
okay.
think having Ray Davis will help with that because James Cook, he's good. He had all those yards.
Mm-hmm.
He was phenomenal last year,
Mm-hmm.
but he is a somewhat limited back. He can't really punch it in. You don't see a lot of him in the red zone
I've been dropping the
where
damn
like
ball last
inside,
year.
he's usually outside running routes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I think they need to diversify away from having Allen pound the ball, and they need to diversify away from Allen having to play hero ball because that's what gets us killed with the picks at times. And I
Okay.
think that happened last year.
Okay. Interesting take. Jake, what do you got for me, man? Like, are the Bills getting ready to shift their offensive approach because it scares the living daylights out of me? I want to throw it, throw it, throw it, throw it, throw it, and I don't really give a shit about the run game, and I'll be the first to admit I just don't.
I love a game that airs the ball out, but Matt's 100% right. You need to diversify your offensive play calling because what teams are doing right now is they're
Too high
running, they're
shell.
sitting back in six shell, yeah, too high, and then you have to force the ball, and Josh throwing a lot of interceptions, or he's dropping his shoulder on linebackers and tearing that UCL joint over and over again. So now he can't. His deep ball percentage was awful last season, and
Mhm.
I'm
Very
99% sure that's because of UCL.
Okay.
So you add in. I mean, James Cook had a great season last year. I just pulled it up. He had 1,100 yards, which in
Oh yeah.
2023 is fantastic.
Mhm.
That's did he make? Oh no, did he make the Pro Bowl? I don't think he made the Pro Bowl. Or
I don't
he
know.
should have.
Yeah, but it was his best season as a Bill for sure. 100%.
Yeah, but I mean, diversify multiplicity, and then you pull those safeties in, and then now you have plenty of speedy receivers. You got Samuel and you got Shakir on both ends, and Keon Coleman that can burn a little bit up the middle. You're really opening the play calling up, and that's a little bit more exciting to me, especially when we're sitting here saying they don't have their number one guy. If you're gonna have a committee spread the ball college style, you got to open it up with a little bit of read option, a little bit of stretch plays and things like that, right?
Oh man, my partner in crime joining us just got in. Corporate man, holla at the crew. DT, check him out on Instagram and Twitter at Adam Rupsick, RUPCZYK. Holla at the crew. We're just digging into a couple things, DT, and I mean,
I'm catching the drift.
Yeah. I sent you show notes, but my last question was just, that there's some. We talk about breadcrumbs, that, DT, and the breadcrumbs that I'm seeing is that I don't know, I'm not trying to make it archaic, not necessarily ground and pound, but the second half of the season they ran the ball a ton, like a fuck ton, and then they got our number one wide receiver, literally to the point that he's non-existent, and you know how much I love Diggs. I'm just wondering. I was telling the fellas that I was giving grace to Brady because of the fact that I don't know his offense for sure. You know what I mean? He ran with LSU and he's got Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. That was one of the best college teams ever. Then he goes to Carolina. I think Matt Rule fired him because he passed the ball too much. You know what I mean? So I'm not exactly sure what his offense is on the pro level, but boy, it just seems if this guy is getting ready to try to run the ball a lot, I just don't know if that's the best recipe for success, because when we were at our greatest, when we were at our scariest, it was when David was airing it out, 11 personnel, and letting these boys go get that thing. And I don't know. I mean, I don't give a shit about the run game. I don't have to explain that to you.
Well, what up, Nickel City? What up, Rob? Our guests tonight have been great. I will tell you, kudos to our guests tonight, because on my ride home, I'm trying to get home as fast as possible, and I'm getting a few texts from our great listeners, and they say, "Hey, you're not on the pod, but you got some nice guests here. You got some good guests." So I know they've been dropping good points all night. I'll be excited to go and listen to playback. But the point is, and how many times this is a broken record for me on Nickel City Crew. 1-7 is the goods. 1-7 is the prize. 1-7 is the main event. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
This team knows this. The organization knows this. Last year,
Mhm.
They wanted to get a little off his plate. I think they wanted to bring it back. The shoulder injury, the UCL. That's a great point. They don't want the goods being put in harm's way. He will be in harm's way. It's inevitable. It's part of it's part of his game. It's part of what makes him great. It's part of what has made us one of the most winningest teams in the NFL the past 4 years. But the organization knows this.
Mm-hmm.
The production falls down on the passing side of things. Whether that was we didn't have the personnel, whether that was, whatever the case was why the passing offense went down, instead of it's all in 1-7's hands, run it, get us everything we have to do, the organization, Brady says, let's start running the ball more, get it a little off 1-7.
Ooh.
So that was, I think, them desperately trying to get it off 1-7.
Save the season.
In a time when the back is against the wall.
6
the
and
passing
6.
The passing game was such a question at that point. There was good games, there was bad games. It was literally a coin flip what you were going to get out of the pass game at 6
roller
and 6.
coaster.
They said let's peel back on 1-7 doing everything. Let's get our run game going. It was successful. We started stacking wins, got us to the playoffs. I don't think the passing game is away.
Okay.
I just think they rode the trend from last year of it. They know they have to get more off 1-7 shoulders. A good way of doing that, on you and I thoughts, would have been get a few more receivers, make it a little, give them weapons, make it easier. But just because you can run the ball effectively, and they were riding the wave. I don't think that's an identity. I think it's what was working, and it's all the goal to keep 1-7 upright. That's the number one goal. You put the best line in front of him. Whatever you have to do, 1-7 has to be upright for any success. Because if he goes down, it doesn't matter who you have on the team. We're screwed. I'll be the first one to say that. We're back to the drought if 1-7's off this team. Don't matter what the roster is.
You ain't right about that.
So we need to take it off of him. That was the way they did that last year. They ran the ball. They did it effectively. They rode the wave. It worked. It got us wins, got us the 2 seed in the playoffs.
But you don't think that's who Brady is as an OC?
That's exactly. It's not an identity thing. It was he came in, kind of took the ship that was already sinking, brought it back, and that's tough to say because we were never really sinking.
I know. Before you came on, I said, I mean, if Dorsey may not get fired if it wasn't fucking 12 men on the field, we all know that.
So it wasn't sinking, but it was a little hectic when he came in. It was the darkest it's been since the drought at 6 and 6. It was the darkest it's been since the drought.
Sure,
I'm going into Monday morning a little pissed off that I haven't been this pissed off on a Monday since the drought.
Sure,
after 6 and 6.
I'll give you that.
So I don't think it's an identity. I think he took what he had. It was working. They took it off 1-7 shoulders. They stacked wins. They got it done. I don't think it's an identity thing. I'd like to see him spread the ball, get out in the pass game. We will see this year. That's where I stand.
All right. Okay. I'll back the fuck off. Like I said, I mean, I'm going to give this guy grace. I'm going to let him implement his offense. He was running Dorsey's offense. He's going to have a chance with offseason, implement his system. We've got training camp coming down the road later in the summer. So I understand. I'm going to listen. I'm watching him just as hard as I was watching Dorsey when he first started, because again, I desperately miss Dable. I miss those offenses. I miss 11 personnel. I miss throwing the ball all over the field. So we'll see. I'll give them grace. Now, as we transition, before we wrap up tonight, we've got to run through the draft, fellas. They gave their takes. DT, Matt, and Jake did. We were on K-Gun Report the other night, but for our listeners, and over 800 right now listening, we really appreciate you guys. Shout out to all of Nickel City Crew. We really do appreciate the support. Again, we are supported and simulcasting on the Buffalo Fan Base Podcast Network, which is official Bills Mafia Podcast Network, presented by 26 Shirts. Head on over to 26shirts.com. Get yourselves some T-shirts. I think, again, they all really support a great cause. You're going to help out families that are in need. Head on over to 26shirts.com. Del Reedy's running a wonderful site. I literally just messaged him after the draft, after Keon Coleman's press conference, and I was like, yo, man, this dude is so fucking funny. We can make so many shirts from this dude just off of one press conference. So head on over to 26shirts.com because I'm definitely getting me a shirt made for Keon Coleman. What a treasure. That dude is so fucking funny. I could listen to him all day long. I just heard him on RG3 the other, I guess it was earlier today, and he's just funny, man. Everything that he does is funny to me. So hopefully he plays wide receiver just as well. DT, what is your Keon Coleman take? Since I know you were at an event and you just joined us, give us your take as we get ready to run down the draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be real quick. I'll catch up here. I said it Tuesday, and you guys, really got me kind of pumped up about that. He wears the red, white, and blue. He's fucking mine. Let's go. This is our
That's what I
season.
said.
Like,
That's what I
let's
said.
go. I love that, and I'm inspired by that. So, you're right. He's mine because he has to be, and he is.
He's mine.
We're
You
buying
can't give your
into
kids
it.
back. You're like, that's my fucking
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah, we're buying into it. It's all good, and there's a lot of things. All the negativity and the criticisms can be erased because of 1-7. You don't have to get open. You don't have to. It says go.
Jake
Go
will
here.
fight you on that. Jake had some good stats about how you do need to get open. That's funny.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, so he's our guy. He's got to be our guy. He's going to have to get good playing time.
Mhm.
Let's keep him moving.
Right off the gate. You hear that, Jake? You see what I got to deal with? That DT comes through like literally a dump truck, and he's gonna give his takes, and I love it.
Look, I love Keon Coleman. I want nothing more than him to have a 12-year career in Buffalo. I'm stressed about a DT. I don't know if he fits. I don't know. I mean, we're going into this draft saying we want our number one guy for the next 15 years. We want.
Sure. Yeah,
Does he have the trait?
first.
I don't know if he's got the trait.
I'll be the first one to say it. We were talking pre-draft before Diggs was even traded. This draft is the Stephon Diggs succession plan. This has to be the succession plan. And then he gets traded, and then it actually is the succession plan because it has to be. And I mean, yes, there's some question marks for sure, but I mean, I'm buying into the positives. I'm buying into, as we talked, yes, maybe there was some I'd like to listen back and hear these stats about Josh Allen getting people open because I agree. I think that has been a struggle. But now maybe that was what we were talking about. And I'm not going at Diggs. I'm not attacking 1-4 by any means at this. But I'm saying now, this dude, now he doesn't it's no more tiptoeing around. It's your team. You tell people what the fuck you want to happen straight up.
Well, that's like 17 though, man. You got to be a leader.
I agree. I'm not saying this couldn't have happened then. I'm just saying now, okay, there's no more excuse. Like it happened. This has to be your squad. You have to get people in places they need to be successful, and you have to know where they need to be successful. So I'm challenging him. I'm confident 1-7 will prevail in this regard, but I'm challenging him, and he has to take that step. And that's why I'm confident in Keon Coleman because I believe 1-7 can get him where he needs to be successful.
Interesting. All right, Matt, as we go around the horn and go through this draft real quick, second round, 60th pick, Cole Bishop, Matt, and it's like if you can cookie cutter, McDermott guy, just go and bloop and like up pops the cookie, man. Cole Bishop seems like such a McDermott guy, former captain out there in Utah. Can get his nose dirty. I like the fact that he doesn't mind tackling. That's one of the best things that I love about safeties. And he's rangy. He can cover tight ends. He's fast for his 4.45 speed or something like that. Listen, give me your take, Matt, on Cole Bishop, because I think I said it on K-Gun Report earlier in the week when DT and I were on their show. I think that this guy is literally instantly like in competition for a leadership role down the road, not as a rookie, but I'm saying like I could definitely envision seeing a C on this guy's chest in a few years. That's just, he screams to me a McDermott type of guy.
Oh yes, for sure. I love this pick. Great athlete. He's versatile. You can play him all around. Free safety in the box, strong safety. Friends with Kincaid from Utah.
Yep.
He's good against tight ends too.
Are they roommates?
Yeah, I don't know, but they said they went against each other in practice, and
I told my mom they were
Bishop
roommates.
said that he used to eat his lunch, and then I guess Brandon Beane was like, okay, we're gonna go ask Dalton about that, and then I guess Dalton confirmed that he was always in his jersey. So go ahead, Matt. What you're just all about it? You like it?
Yeah, I like it. I don't like the roster construction at the safety position though. I actually think it's the worst aspect of our current roster, worse than the wide receiver room.
What?
That's a hot take. But
that is a hot
Taylor
take.
Rapp,
That's two
Taylor Rapp
tonight.
is a strong safety. He's not a good free safety. He struggled at free safety. I know he had that pick on Tua that won us the division. He's not a free safety. He's not great in the box. He's a strong safety.
Okay.
He also scares me a bit because he does fly around a little too much sometimes. He had some hits on our own players.
He gets out of position. I will give you that.
Yeah,
What about Mike Edwards though? Mike Edwards comes in, he's won
Mike
back-to-back Super
Edwards is
Bowls.
on a 1-year deal. He's only here 1 year, and he's probably going to have a good year, and he's
Mhm.
going to go somewhere else and get more money than we can pay him. And the only other
Uh-huh.
free safety we have on the roster is Cam Lewis, and you
Right.
don't want him starting out there.
Oh, you
You can
don't.
play Bishop at free safety. I don't think he's ready to step into it day one. I
Okay.
think he'll need some time, and I think he profiles best as a strong safety.
He does. He looks like
So
one. Mhm.
my question for Bean is, who is the free safety then? Because Mike, he's on 1 year. He's not supposed to be here long term, and maybe something changes and they are able to afford him to keep him around.
Oh, well, I'm
But
worried about 24 though right now, man. I need them win the Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
I don't give a
Yeah.
fuck about
Yeah, we'll
25
talk
until it
about
comes.
this. Yeah.
I need 24. Interesting take. I definitely do not. I would have never even thought of safety, but you're right about the depth. But the weakest position by far to me is the wide receiver room. That's why the episode is named the way that it is, because I'm nervous as hell about it. Matt, Jake, what do you got on Cole Bishop? What are your thoughts on him for sure?
I mean, everyone's really excited about this guy because he's like one of the most athletic safeties to come out of the draft.
Okay.
In recent memory, since like Jabril Peppers, but I'm gonna throw cold water on everybody. I don't think this guy fits. When I saw this, like they said, oh, the number one knock on him is his coverage instinct. What do you need in the Buffalo Bills defense as a safety, as an interchangeable safety? You need coverage instinct. That's the most important thing. So how are they? I mean, this is the new McDermott defense, and we saw a little bit before there was injuries with Hyde and Poyer. He was using some of those exotic blitzes.
Right.
See, this is the same thing with Coleman. I'm just concerned how are they using him? Is he a support sub-package guy? And really what they need is a starter, because I'm the number one hater of Rapp. He was just out of position all season last season. They were forced to go his way. He had like 3 or 4 personal fouls on the season that were just egregious because he was out of position trying to make up for it.
True.
So we're going into the season with Rapp and Edwards. At that pick, I really like Bullard. I mean, Bullard was the most complete safety in this draft. He was gone. If Bullard survives, do we go with Bishop? Maybe. They seem pretty excited, but everyone seems pretty excited about him. I'm just going to be the jackass and ruin it for everyone. But
I love it.
I like it. He's going to need development. I don't think he's going to be able to pick it up right away, and I don't think he's going to play a lot this year.
Well, we'll see. I think he's going to have an opportunity to. We'll see. DT, what were your thoughts on him? Cole Bishop, because I'd never even thought, about the fact that he may not fit the scheme. That's another interesting take. That's why we brought these guys on tonight, because you get a chance to get different takes and stuff like that. And I like fighting with them. I love it on Twitter. It's the best. So yes, let's fight about it. DT, what do you think, Cole Bishop? I mean, as we begin to wrap up tonight and go through these picks.
Well, I think that everyone's positive on him because it's
a McDermott guy.
Unanimous vote of the unanimous vote of McDermott is the safety whisperer, if you will, and on all accounts. But so that's why everyone's high on him, and that's why that coming in and he has to be. And I keep going back to this; it's a broken record. This training camp is going to have to be the most aggressive, competitive training camp this team has seen, like Josh Allen has seen, I think, in Josh Allen's career. This training camp's got to be the toughest. You got to bring the dogs forward, and because depth is an issue at a lot of positions. I mean, we got rid of half the team. We've got to refill half the team. There's a lot of question marks. So that's it. That's a perfect example at safety. I mean, I'll homer out, whatever. I'm buying into the McDermott hype. I've never been worried about his defense. He always seems to find a way, no matter who's out there. They get it done, and I like it. He's a McDermott guy, if you will, and he's going to come in. He's a football player. We saw Jordan Poyer being, not himself and having to be up in the box and a lot of that last year. And if that's what, Cole Bishop is, and a hitter in that regard, that's what we need him to be in that regard too. So I'm in on the McDermott whisper, and we'll ride with that for now.
All right, no doubt. As we move on, round 3. 95th pick. I'll be honest with you guys before I pass it off to Matt. I quit. I was so focused on wide receiver that I skipped over him. And then when I was like on Twitter and looking at this guy, and then I'm seeing highlights, I'm seeing interviews from like the Senior Bowl and shit like that. I like quickly had a football crush on this guy, fell in love because of his motor and because of his work ethic. He comes from just background on him. He comes from a football family. Father played. Grandfather played, uncle played, and we're talking high-level D1 football. There's just something about coaches' sons. There's something about coming from a sports family where it's competition and it's real competitive. And I don't know. I'm all in on him. I know the defensive tackle is a need for the Bills. What were your thoughts on it, Niper Fox? I mean, it feels like it was value plus need, and it's like that's the perfect marriage. Sometimes that's really what you really want to get.
Yeah, I mocked him to the Bills when I
Ooh,
did a
okay.
mock draft.
Okay.
I had him and I had Javon Solomon. We'll talk about him in a bit. I
Okay.
like both of them.
Yeah.
I high motor, hard worker, productive. I think he's a perfect fit. I think he'll be in rotation from day one, and I
Hmm.
expect him to get a second contract here in Buffalo,
Yeah.
unless he prices himself out of it, which is very possible.
Yeah.
I
I
in
mean, Daquan
one
Jones
of
not
the
to be here forever, right? I mean, so
Yeah, the I do have. He isn't always the best against the run when I watched him. There was times where I was like, could didn't quite keep the linebackers as clean as you would think, and our linebackers aren't huge here, but
right.
I think they can make it work.
Yeah.
You have good defensive tackles for him to learn from. I think it's going to be a home run pick.
Nice. What do you think? What do you think, Jake?
I love this pick. I mean,
Yeah.
you spoke about his character. Matt,
Yeah.
you talked about his pass rushing chops. I guess the only one knock is, what's his role outside of just a rotational three tech. I don't
Yeah, I
know,
mean,
but I
yeah,
think he can
they
develop.
they just love bodies. That's what McDermott does. He likes to
Right?
get these in like a platoon. He doesn't want them. He wants to keep them fresh. So yeah, I expect you to see him on the field for sure.
I mean, can he develop and improve? I'm looking at his stats. He was pretty solid in defending against the run in
Hmm.
college. He might not have been. He's not the biggest. He's about 300 pounds. But I
Right.
mean, he reminds me of Harrison Phillips though. A little bit
Yeah.
of a
Hmm.
hybrid one tech, three tech that he can kind of develop a little bit more of that that run stuffing chops, and we can see him here for the long run.
I like that take. I do like that Harrison Phillips comparison. DT, what do you think of Dwayne Carter? I know we were on K Gun Report. I tell Nickel City Crew what you think about him.
Yeah. I'll keep it simple. I mean, I don't want to be cliche, but Dwayne Carter, I mean, this dude's got to have the Little Wayne nickname, right? The dude's name is Little Wayne. Dwayne Carter, Little Wayne. So
Oh, I was hoping you
I
said
won't stop saying that till he rocks. But
that.
I'll keep it simple. Captain, football family, Duke. You talk about McDermott likes bodies. How about a slide by then the big body? Big body, big thick. Does only 300, but a thick base. We talked about the other night.
Yeah,
Way to
yeah.
go. And DTU. A lot of veteran DTs that have taught each other in their careers. Now they teach this cat coming in that's going to be good. So I like it. A good fit for the team.
Yeah, a rotational defensive tackle. You can never really have enough of them. We lost some guys, the free agency or whatever the case may be. So I like the pick a lot for sure. Now, round 4, this is the one as we go through. I was mad. I was, and I alluded to it before you got here, DT. I wanted another wide receiver. I wanted to double dip. I understand that this guy, Ray Davis, can catch the ball, and he's got the most receiving running back touchdowns out in the SEC history or something crazy like that. Listen, or in a season or something like that. Listen, I get it. Ty Johnson, I could have sworn was a backup running back. Like, I don't know. I'll give it to our guest tonight because I just don't give a shit about running back, let alone one in the 4th round. I wanted another receiver. So, Matt, I mean, you can tell me all cool stats. Jake, you can tell me cool stats, but you can get it out to the listeners because I'm gonna just plug my ears. I don't give a shit. I don't. But yes, he's a thick guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. So, what were your thoughts on him, Niper Fox? I'll let the crew, man. I'm sorry. The crew knows me, man. They know I'm ignorant when it comes to wide receivers, man. I want my shit, man. I want to score. What do you think of Ray Davis, running back out of Kentucky?
I think he's a good fit. Reminds me of James Cook, a little bit bigger, a little bit slower, still explosive.
Mm-hmm.
Think he's a nice blend between him and Allen,
Okay.
and I think he'll be our running back too. I'm not super worried about his age because I don't believe in really giving running backs second contracts
Right. It's
unless it's
25 this
someone
season.
really phenomenal.
Okay.
So I think I'm fine with the pick. I don't
Okay.
love how much we've spent on running backs compared to wide receivers
Mm-hmm.
in the Bean era,
Yes. Great.
but
Great take.
I don't think it's a bad pick.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Jake? What do you think?
I I like this guy. He's the all around. He's the bell cow style back in the non-bell cow
Mhm.
era. So he's gonna
Sure.
come. He's gonna play right away. He's gonna get those north south runs that James Cook is the greatest at, and he's fast enough. He can get outside and get past the safeties. And He's got solid receiving chops. So I mean,
does.
it's a good pick. Guy that's going to get a lot of play and 4th round pick. Let's go.
No problem. DT, what do you got? I didn't plug my ears. It's okay. I'll take him. I mean, he could back up James Cook. I'm not mad anymore because the draft's over. But I was pissed that night because I wanted another receiver. So it is.
Competition strong. Him and Ty Johnson can be battling for that. You know, for a legit playing time spot. His highlights are nice. He has leadership and proven skills at each level. I like, you know, they show the one play he can block. They say he can pick up blitzes, but the play that shows him picking up a blitz, he's just getting absolutely lit up. But the guy doesn't get to the quarterback, so I guess that's picking up a block. And you know, in the NFL, those guys are going to be a lot bigger and faster. So we'll see how the speed translates. You know, but it seems like he's not anywhere near I'm not comparing him to LaShawn McCoy, but in those highlight reels of that first cut, he has that nice lateral movement that reminds me of Shady. So you know, if he can come in and be elusive, give James Cook some water here and there, and you know, God forbid anybody fumbles, they're not going to be playing the next couple quarters, right? That's what McDermott does. So you know, you got to go in and get the bodies up there.
I love it. Round 5, we take Cedric Van Pran Granger, the center from Georgia. I think he was like a 2-time starter. Won a national championship. I'm assuming with Georgia. It looks like he could be possibly. I don't know if this pick means that we can move McGovern back to guard and keep everything kind of status quo, and he comes in as an actual replacement for Mitch Morse, or if the Bills actually and Eric Kromer decide to really move McGovern to center. But it'll be interesting to see on that one. I want your just quick takes on these guys, and then you let me know who your favorite ones were. We've got Eddie Ulofoshio. They say that, you know, special teams guy, or, you know, a guy that's going to, you know, hit some people, plays fast, that type of thing. So you guys give me your takes. And then the one that you were talking about earlier, Matt, Niper Fox, Javon Solomon, the sack king last year, led the FBS in sacks, 16 sacks last year. Rounding out, we had Tyler Grable and Daquan Hardy. You guys already talked about it earlier. And then Travis guys will be fighting for roster spots. But between Solomon, Ulofoshio, and Cedric Van Pran Granger, who was your favorite pick, Matt? Because I heard some people really high on Van Pran Granger, and I'm just wondering, like, can we just keep everything the same that it was last year? Because we had a great line for once, and then, you know, the only thing that's changing out is Morse, but now we're going to be moving people around. Like, I don't necessarily know if that's necessary or not with this guy being picked.
Yeah, Javon Solomon, favorite pick there.
Okay.
I really liked him.
Okay.
He's productive. He's got good arm length. He's not huge, but
It's like
he made it work.
size.
And there's been other edge rushers with his type of build who have succeeded.
Yeah, he looks like Jerry Hughes to me. He looks like a Jerry Hughes type.
Yeah, I think I see him as another day one in the rotation.
Okay.
Say Van Pran, I could see him starting at center.
Okay.
It would depend on what they
that.
see from him in camp, but if he has a good camp, he's got the connection with James Cook.
Okay.
I don't know why he was there so late, and I think it's going to be another Cyrus Torrance situation where it's like, how'd they let this guy fall?
Okay.
And I could see him starting day one.
That'd be perfect for me. I'd love to just keep McGovern where he's at. What do you got, Jake? I mean, who are some of your favorite picks out of those last 3 that we highlighted? Because I know as you get towards the back end of the draft, they're more just lotto picks.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm going to ruin debate hour, but I'm just going to agree 100% with Matt. He's right. Solomon sounds really fun. Yeah. I mean, but Van Pran Granger, I was doing my early season mock draft. I'm like, oh man, I really like this Van Pran Granger guy, and I really liked him in the 3rd. He didn't stout, good run blocker. He's solid in the pass game, just an all-around guy that can hold your pivot point, and he did for Georgia, which is the closest thing you can get to pro level competition in the college level. Won 2 championships, 1 or 2 championships there, whatever.
I think he did, yeah.
So, I mean, you don't expect 5th-round picks to come in and start right away, but you know what? I'm going to join on the hot take train. I think it's happening. We're going to push Edwards back to rotational guard and let's get Van Pran Granger in there. And
you'd have 4 out of 5 starters returning. Yeah, you'd have 4 out of 5 starters returning from left to right. And then you'd only have to worry about replacing Morris. That would be nice. I'd like to keep DT. You're the O-line hater, but you got to admit that the O-line was better last year. I would like to
Yeah.
keep the O-line I like it set up. When I heard that they were letting Morris go, it was surprising for sure. It was probably the most surprising of all of those releases that one bloody day when we released all the guys. But like when I was like, well, damn, now they're gonna move McGovern, and I liked the fact that those. I mean, it's definitely rare to not be injured, but man, they played every game together. That was really really fucking impressive, even with Torrance as a rookie. So I would love to be able to keep McGovern at left guard and just let's keep rolling.
Well, you just said it. Torrance came in and played every snap for the Bills last year.
Yeah,
Every snap, and started
and
did great. Barely led. He was what, 1 sack.
Yep.
1 sack in the entire season. So, coming in if you show you can play as a rookie, you can get in on this offensive line and move McGovern back. I could agree with that. You can't say it enough. SEC national championship contenders, it's the closest to pro ball as it gets, and then you go to the line. I'm not even going to attempt to name Washington linebacker
Olaf Oshio, I think.
Yes.
Olaf Oshio,
captain.
Captain of special
in the national championship.
Yes,
in the national championship.
Yeah.
So we rocking with
Another
the
McDermott
guys
guy
who know how to win at the highest level now coming in, and they got to win now. But I like Hardy from Penn State. I think that's a guy with the type of Christian Benford type aura around him. A guy that can come in and a place where we were talking about speed. He's quick. He might be able to. I don't want to put him on the return kick train yet, but
that's what K Gun said that earlier in the show. He wants to put Hardy in back for the new kickoff rule.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. There we
Scott
go.
said that.
Yeah. Let's go, Scott. So, with that, I like him at Penn State. I'm kind of biased toward Penn State. We got a few boys on the team now ready to rock with Penn State. He brings some speed in the back. I obviously like the front end of that 5th round. Solomon, I think, is going to be good too. But Hardy, I'm going to put him as my dark horse of this draft to get a nice roster spot. You start seeing him on Sundays.
That's what's up. I like it.
There's any guy with those last 3, it's Hardy, because he fits right in perfectly with their specialty. He can come in as a gunner and he come in as a returner. And I can see, he seems kind of
a new kickoff rule. But new kickoff rule. Who knows?
Super athletic nickel backup.
Yeah, sure. What were you gonna say, Matt?
See, for Hardy, I took him as a practice squad stash in the vein of Elam, like a Elam, little less polished coming out of college, perhaps.
Okay.
I think that last corner spot is Jamarcus Ingram's this year. University of Buffalo product. Yeah. He's been great when he's played. I don't believe he's actually let up a catch, if I remember, when the limited amount of time he's played.
Okay.
And I would like to see him make the roster and be above Elam, based on what I've seen from the 2 of them so far.
Yeah. Elam. You can't trade him. You can't do shit with him. He just got to either figure it out or he's just going to sit on the fucking bench. And that literally is it. Like, this is one of those pivot years where, I mean, if you still can't show anything, then you're just going to lose all your trade value. So he'll just be tracksuit guy on Sunday. They're just hanging it out in the tracksuit. You're not giving that guy a jersey if he can't get his shit together this offseason. So we'll see. Listen, I really, really appreciate you guys tonight. Tell them where they could check you out, Jake, please, on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm just on Twitter nowadays, just spewing hot takes and picking fights. So I'm getting older. I'm about to turn 33. I'm getting kind of grumpy, so I don't like to fight as much as I used to. Only with Rob. I seek him out. I search and see whatever crazy thing he's saying that day. But
I love it. I love it.
At Big Ball and Bills. Hit me a follow if you want. It's mostly I don't do no politics or no debating about anything that really matters. Just sports goofing off means Lord of the Rings. Awesome. You'll see some Lord of the Rings gifts from me every once in a while. But
I love it, man.
Good times.
I really appreciate you joining us tonight as well. And one of my other favorite follows, tell them where they could find you, Matt. We really appreciate it. I wanted to see your face, but we understand you had some issues, and that's all good. Talk to them. Tell them where they could check you out, man. The Nickel City Crew. We're going to try to get you some follows.
Oh, yeah. I got it right in the title there.
Talk
sports.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Talk sports. A little bit of little bit of everything, but mainly Bills, some Sabres, and I think I'm excited to see how this draft class pans out, especially
Absolutely.
the seventh round guy there. It
Sure.
was he's
Yeah. Yeah.
athletic
Rugby.
specimen.
He's
We should get
huge.
That's
him
no,
playing on
you
the
don't have to
line.
use a roster spot. Don't have to use a roster
That too.
spot.
Yeah, I
I
think Bean
learned
said
that
that.
this
I,
week.
I
Yeah.
think Bean said that he is a part of the pathway program. So yeah, he'd be like Christian Wade. Yeah. All right. Well,
I
interesting.
wish they could have got Christian Wade playing. I think he would have been so good. We just had too many running backs at the time.
We did have a lot of running backs. You know, he was the preseason sensation at the time. Well,
He was
I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. DT, you came late, but you still brought it, and that's why I love you, man. My brother from another Bill's mother, man. You brought it as always. I love you, man. Next week, Nickel City Crew, my favorite non-game day event. Way over the draft. I mean, I don't even know. I'm a nerd like that. I'm a geek like that, and I just schedule release. There are rumors that the
Yeah.
schedule is coming out next week. Bills Mafia, and we are going to be all here for it. We're hoping that it does come out next Thursday because that just lines up right perfectly with our show, and we could do live reactions that night. I just love it. You all know my story as a season ticket holder. Just I want to know where I'm going, when I'm going home, the home opener. We all love the home opener, and it's just like it's literally Bills holiday. Well, when is our Bills holiday going to be? Is it going to be week 1 or is it going to be week 2? We rarely. I don't even remember the last time we started with 2 away games. So we know the opponents next week, most likely. We're going to find out the locations and time, all the other good stuff. So it'll be really interesting. DT, I can't wait for it, man. I can't wait for next week. I can't wait.
It's so fun. I mean, the schedule, especially for you traveling across the country and us picking the away game or whatever the case is going to be. It's pumped up. And I mean, a year ago, I think it was in Myrtle Beach doing live from Myrtle Beach.
Yes, you were. Yes.
You're picking up pick your wins, pick your losses, and boy, everywhere are we wrong, but it's fun to say the least. We used to. I'll end on this. The days of, and I think I speak for a lot of people here. The past in the drought, it's always bitching about. We only play at 1 o'clock on Sundays. We only play at 1 o'clock. I know.
I would die for a couple now.
And man, the past couple of years,
the prime time,
my health, my sleep pattern, my everything. Let's play a few more 1 o'clock.
Oh my gosh, he said Josh Allen's bad for his health. These night games, they take a lot out of you. It's an all-day event, especially with the way that we tailgate. So I could not be more in agreement with you on that one, because I would love just a nice, calm, open to the season, week 1 or 2, 1 o'clock. But boy, man, Josh Allen's such a fucking stud that it's hard to keep those guys off primetime. So hopefully they'll stick to the rules. There's only supposed to be 5. Last year we got 7 flexed in week 18. So we can't wait to dive into all of that next week.
I'll take that Turkey Day nooner though. I think the Bills are the new Thanksgiving. We go back up to Turkey Day. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm down for that. You already know I'm down. So listen, Nickel City Crew, we appreciate it. Over 1,000 viewers across all platforms tonight. Again, we just salute to the Nickel City Crew, man. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate the love. Thanks to my guests tonight, Jake and Matt. Check them out on Twitter. They gave you their handles. Get into some arguments with them on my behalf. I give you permission because they're great follows, and they've got great takes, man. They've got great Bills takes as well. 2 Mafia members, man. Listen. Hit them with a Go Bills, DT. Matt, that's how we close the show. Jake, that's how we close the show. Hit them with a Go Bills. We appreciate the viewers tonight, man. Hit them with a Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills. Go Bills.
All right, man. I love it.